And we were 100% right about that, dude. There's no coming back for DeSantis. In fact, this actually brings up an interesting question, Zach, that I wanted to ask you about, right? And this was inspired by a couple different things. First of all, I saw this. Another piece of RFK news, right? RFK says he'd sign a federal ban on abortion after 3 months of pregnancy, which, we don't have to get into why that's stupid. I think everyone in our chat knows. I imagine most of our audience is pro-choice and understands why this is a obvious violation of, medical and bodily autonomy for women. Anyway, the reason why I bring this up is because it really is becoming increasingly apparent that RFK Jr. is in the wrong primary. This dude's in the wrong primary. He goes on right-wing shows all the time. Almost everyone that supports him is a right-winger. And meanwhile, it's pretty clear that he's not going to make it in the Democratic Party, right? Like his numbers are falling. He's no longer at that 20% number that everyone was so excited about. Now it's closer to 13%.
Which I'll give you credit for saying. I think you're correct that a lot of that was just the Kennedy name and people not knowing how awful he was and wanting an alternative and then trusting somebody that came from the Kennedy lineage for obviously no good reason, but, that was why. And I think that really revealed itself, but go on.
Yeah. So I don't know if I want to make a prediction or just a theory. But if RFK wants to actually be serious about this, I think that he should switch to the GOP primary because DeSantis is faltering right now. There's not really a clear number 2 behind Donald Trump. And what's going on with Donald Trump? Well, I mean, last night he just got a 4th indictment. This one might be the most serious yet, coming out of Georgia, getting him on like RICO charges. It's insane. He's going down. So now would be the perfect time for RFK Jr. And I don't say this as an RFK Jr. fan, right? I don't care. But if he wants to be successful, I think, and it seems like most of the Vanguard Twitter audience agrees, this is a scientific poll, guys, that RFK would pull higher than Ron DeSantis if he switched to the GOP primary. I think probably making him the clear second to Donald Trump. The only other real competition is Vivek Ramaswamy. And I think that guy's kind of a flash in the pan. Like he's definitely a talented politician, if you want to call him that, but he's not gonna win the nomination. RFK Jr. has the name, the prestige, and at this point, the right wing seems to like the Kennedy name more than the left wing, at least as much. And they love RFK Jr. He's with them on vaccines. He's with them on climate change. He's with them on so much stuff, right? And it just seems so obvious to me. The debate's in like a week. If he wants to switch over, he could probably make the debate stage. He has enough polling. He has enough donations. Why is he in the Democratic primary? Why is he just self-marginalizing himself to this extent when he could actually get on the debate stage and appeal to an electorate that's far more sympathetic to his philosophy, to his idea and his ideology?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's because in his own warped way, like he has to run as a Democrat because, again, I think this is all about legacy for him. I think this is all, and again, not to armchair psychoanalyze the guy too much, but I think it is a lot about him. Now he's reaching the final chapters of his life, and he compares his life to the life of his father and his father's father and his uncle and the rest of the people that were in his, and the people he admires and the people his whole life that he like wanted to walk along their side. And you have to, I mean, you feel bad for the guys lost his dad when he was a kid. You imagine that he spent much of his life thinking about how he was going to, walk in his father's footsteps, kind of earn the clout in American history that his father and his uncle and his grandfather had, right? There is so much lore, there is so much mythology surrounding that family that I think he felt like he needed to do something to make himself the part of it. And I think he's convinced himself of all kinds of wacky shit. And I'm not here to cape for the guy. You guys know how I feel about RFK, but I'm just being honest that I think that that's the only reason that he is running in the Democratic Party, because to be a Kennedy was to be a Democrat, right? Teddy, all of the other, they were, Joe Kennedy right now, even though he's kind of a whack piece of shit politician who's not very good at his job, he's also a Democrat, right? There are no Kennedys that were Republicans, right? And also I think it goes back to even more old school than that. Republicans were from the north of the country. Democrats were from the south of the country, or excuse me, flip that right Right, I said the wrong thing. Democrats are from the north of the country, Republicans are from the south of the country, and I think it all comes back down to where he sees himself. The people he knows, the people he surrounds himself are all Democrats. Until now when he decided to run for president for whatever fucking reason. So he would certainly, and I'm looking at Ron DeSantis's polling right now. Jesus Christ, he is cratered.
Yeah.
So I think you're right.
There's a lot of polls with RFK higher in the Democratic primary in polling than DeSantis is in the Republican Party primary.
Yeah, and I think that he would retain basically all of that support and then some. I think that he would poll somewhere like 20%, 20% in a Republican primary. And then the last thing I wanted to add, just on the topic of Vivek Ramaswamy, Gavin, did you know how Vivek Ramaswamy made his fortune?
Was it some like MLM thing?
It was like he like started a business and then he sold it to the Kauffman Foundation, which is based in Kansas City. That's why the Royals Stadium is called Kauffman Stadium. And funny enough, when I was in college at UMKC in the business school, there are two motherfuckers that sponsored literally everything. Well, they're dead. Well, one of them's dead. Is Henry Block still alive? Henry Block was one of them, the dude from H&R Block.
I'm not sure.
And if he's not, he's like a million years old. And then Kaufman's certainly dead. He died like 30 years ago. But anyway.
Yeah. So I'm interested. You don't necessarily think it's going to happen that he's going to switch to the GOP. That's what you're saying. You don't think that's going to happen?
I don't think that he will at this point yet. However, okay. I'm not ruling it out, but again, it's kind of like what you were saying. That's a bold prediction to make. I'm not ruling it out because he definitely would succeed more, but I think he would feel. I almost wonder if he would feel embarrassed to be a Republican. I just think he has. I mean, you have to think about how old this guy is. He's probably really entrenched in his line of thinking. But I don't know. Yeah. Maybe
he doesn't feel embarrassed hanging out with them on podcasts and all of their online spaces. Like, you don't really see the guy hanging out with a lot of lefties. So if anything, he seems embarrassed.
I think that's because lefties don't want to hang out with him.
Maybe.
Because he did seem happy to go on Crystal Ball show. But yeah, anyway,
that's true. But Sagar's a right winger, on the right. The other question I do have for you, Zach, let's just entertain the theory. Say he does switch to the GOP. Does he become the front runner outside of Trump? Like, obviously Trump's the front
1,000,000%. Absolutely.
You think so?
Yes, 100%. 100%. Because he would clobber on DeSantis. Unfortunately, he's just like willing to be crazier and like more conspiracy minded and do more dog whistles and just, pursue that than Ron DeSantis is. And Vivek Ramaswamy, I'm sorry, I just don't think he's got a real serious chance.
Yeah, I think Ramaswamy is a bit of a flash in the pan. I'm not denying that he's like a talented politician. Like,
no, but I think that's why he's running, so that he can boost his media profile.
Yep. And if you guys didn't get a chance to check this out.
Loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's joking how? Everybody's joking now. The clock's run out.
I can't imagine anybody ever thinking it's a good idea. And if you need this advice, please take it from me. Don't do that in public ever if you're running for office. It's never a good look.